We're grateful to be able to share this evening with Stuart Paterson, and more on him shortly. On the 10th of February, we're hosting Victoria Whitworth, a writer whose memoir, Swimming with Seals, explores archaeology, landscape, time, loss, grief, and the nature of knowledge. On the 24th of March, we're in conversation with Tim Barrow. Tim is a writer, actor, filmmaker, who's generously allowed QNIS to screen his feature-length film Riptide for free. The film is available to watch via the Winter Wellbeing section of our website from now until the event in March. So for those of you who don't know us, QNIS, the Queen's Nursing Institute Scotland, has been around for over 130 years. We're a small charity making a big difference. We support, develop and inspire Scotland's community nurses and midwives to become catalysts for social change. We help them build on their clinical expertise to become an active force for a healthier, kinder, fairer, greener world. And in the middle of a pandemic, we're seeking to bring a little comfort and joy. We are all exhausted. Community nurses are working across Scotland in every village, town and city, supporting those with complex health needs who are isolated, anxious and afraid. Their immense knowledge and skill is keeping people out of hospital. And tonight is a small gesture of appreciation for all that you are doing. This is a few minutes of Koori on a dark winter's night. This evening is for everyone, nurses, friends, family, supporters, but especially for those of you who are running on empty just now. Sit back and relax, bathe in the warmth of words that comfort, challenge, and bring a smile. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Rona Hotchkiss, who's a trustee of QNIS, social activist and extraordinary human being, who will be your host for the next 40 minutes or so. Over to you, Rona.
Thank you very much, Claire, and good evening to all of you. I'll just add my welcome to that too. Yes, I'm a trustee and a fellow of the Queen's Nursing Institute, and very proud to be so, to be associated with this kind of organisation. So we're going to hear from our guest artist tonight in just a few minutes, but first of all I'll explain how this bit of the evening will work. Stuart will read, I think, 12 poems in all, which is fantastic value for money, and then we will attempt to have a question and answer session. If you could put your, if you could say in the chat box that you want to ask a question, I and myself and Tasha will keep an eye on that, and we'll try and get to as many of you as we can. When we come to you and we say your name, can you please unmute yourself, or Tasha may be able to unmute you. You might have to unmute yourself. And then I'll ask you to ask your question, and then if you can mute yourself again, that would be fantastic. So our artist tonight is the fabulous Stuart Paterson. Originally a Killie man, and he's eaten a few of the pies, I can tell you. He now bides in Bonnie Gallowo. Stuart has been a published poet for over 30 years, and I don't know if that's a terrifying, sobering or exciting thought for him. But he's taken his work all over the world as a visiting lecturer, particularly in the US and South Africa, in his role as an ambassador for the Scots language. I first became aware of Stuart's work a few years ago when I was searching for a new Hogmanay party piece, and I came across a poem called The Ettercap, and it is now my party piece. And it's a poem that Stuart will read for us tonight, although I would argue I do it better than him. Stuart is considered by many to be the foremost poet writing in Scots, and is the current Scots Poet of the Year. So it is now my great pleasure to introduce to you the Afe Bra Meister Stuart Paterson. Over to you, Stuart.
Hello, and thank you very much indeed, Rona. I've not got much to live up to there, have I? Thanks absolutely loads to QNIS for asking me along this evening to read you some poems. It's a real honour, it really is, considering the amount of invaluable, amazing work that these guys and women do across Scotland at all hours of the every day. It's absolutely tremendous, especially at this time. So to be asked to, if you like, share my work in their name is an absolute privilege. And tonight I'm going to hopefully cheer you up a wee bit, make you think a wee bit. And I don't just write in Scots, I write in English as well. So I'm going to read about a dozen poems in total. And hopefully, yeah, you'll enjoy them. I'll start off by reading a poem about the now. Like everybody else, I've had to completely rearrange not just my working life, but my home life, and everything about it is just, as we say in Scots, topsy-turvy, upside down all over the place, hanging out the window. And this is a wee poem I wrote about the new routine that so many of us are having to get used to. And this is a poem called Routine. And if anybody doesn't know, I'm sure a few of you do, but what the bine is quite an old word that we still use a lot for a washing machine. Well, it's the basket that you put your clothes on for the washing machine. So this is called Routine. And I think some of you might identify a wee bit with this. The clays are done and out the bine and hanging on the washing line. The messages delivered, dichted, dishes steeped and rubbish lifted. I've been my daily hour-long donner, duking out the wire joggers, hoovered, dusted every room, attended umpteen meets on Zoom, made sure the wains logged into skill, logged in myself to pay the bills, bought umpteen things off Amazon, switched off the news to no feel thrown. The toilet's scrubbed, the dinner's prepped, the lobby's mopped, the paths are swept, the grass is cut, the floor's watered. It's just midday and now I'm shattered. And as I say, I mean, it's a new routine for all of us to get used to, doing things through the day, which, we tend to, I think, string out a wee bit to make it last longer, unless, of course, we're very, very busy, which, of course, I am, and all of us are. So the next poem, again, it's a slightly different tone, and I wrote it just at the start, really, of the whole pandemic. And right from the very start, we've been urging everybody to take great care. And I know the huge majority of you and everybody is that we need to wear masks, we need to clean our hands, we need to keep distance, and we need to keep safe. Doesn't always apply, I think, to some people. So this poem is called Vaccine. From Brora to Borg, from Stranraer to St Cyrus, we're day-to-day dealing with more than a virus. Pasta and packet soups bought with no bother, till day-to-day dealing with all of each other. Dried goods and loo rolls and tins that are bought while the world and its webcam insist that we stockpile are first come, first grabbed, and first trolleyed from shelves soon as empty as those stocking up on themselves. How many crisps can a 3-year-old scran? How many Dettol wipes maketh the man? It's known we evolve with the threats which define us, and sometimes become them. Be vaccine, not virus. They are strange days indeed, but some things never change. Some people have still got a memory like a sieve, as we say. I'm one of them. And I think I'm getting to that age now where if I put something down, 2 minutes later, I have absolutely no idea where it is. And it could be sitting right in front of me, like a laptop even. But it's not just the curse of age. It's as if you're busy as well and you're doing lots of stuff, but then you don't know where things are, including yourself sometimes. So this is a poem I wrote for somebody who is just like me in some respects, and a lot of people are like this, I think, and it's called lost. It's like a treasure hunt gone wrong before we even close the front door finally and go. You've lost your keys, or rather, put them somewhere altogether obviously there, beside the bread bin, on the table, in your pocket. When we're outside by the car, you say you don't know where they are, and we begin again by looking for your house keys to get in to find the car keys which you left beside your house keys when you put your glasses down beside the bag you thought you put your car keys in. It's not that things are lost, it's that they're somewhere you are not. Beneath a pile of bills and letters, behind life's unimportant must-dos that you'll put aside till later, in the same place as the keys, the ring, the makeup bag, the glasses, almost everything, and you. And I can actually, even though I can't see a single one of these, I can imagine quite a few heads nodding that are looking in and thinking, oh, I know somebody just like that, or actually saying to themselves, that's me. This next poem I wrote, it was a great privilege again to be asked to do something for Age Scotland. I've been doing a lot of work with Age Scotland, and especially with Luminate over the past year and a half. And Luminate are Scotland's government-funded creative ageing agency. And we've been, before the pandemic hit, we'd been going into care homes, and I've been working with a lot of older people, many of whom have got dementia, to get them to be creative, to think, you know, to work, to write, just to have a blether even. It's great stuff, and it's a huge honour to meet and work with these people. And Luminate are a fantastic organisation. And during lockdown, they produced an activity pack for carers and for older people to work on at home, various artistic activities, you know, drawing, sketching, and poems and writing and life stories and stuff like that. And this poem is one that I wrote for their activity pack to try and spur a lot of older people, especially ones who have dementia, to look around them and try to take stimulus for the home that they're in, the place that they're in, the very place where they live. And this poem is called My Home Is Me. What's around me, what you see, all make my home and all make me. And drawers and sideboards on the wall, in bedroom, bathroom, front room, hall. These things I've gathered, things I own, they all make me. They make my home. My knickknacks, photographs and books are who I am. Now, let me look and find what matters where I can that make this home and who I am. And I think we had quite a good response to that. Going back to that line of work, as I say, I work with a lot of people who, dementia is an absolutely terrible, terrible condition, but we have to make the most of things. And, you know, we have to look at these people, not just as somebody sitting in a chair or objects. And we need to treat them for who they are and who they were and who they can still be, I think. And this poem is, I think, for a lot of people who live with dementia and who live with people who have dementia. And this is a poem called Not Demented. And in Scotland, we tend to say a lot of the time, if something's driving you daft, oh, it's driving me demented, I'm demented. Well, this poem is called Not Demented. For those who lose, forget, who disconnect, know only now, have no need to expect tomorrow, next week, next year, who remember lifetimes ago, a childhood, every sender returned unopened, puzzled, worried that these daily, hourly visits come too fast. Their name's a crossword clue they cannot fill with more than guesses, listening until the pen's removed and gently paper prized from fingers clinging onto daily whys and wheres. I see you through these long lost days, leave scraps and banter all along the maze I hope you'll follow. No, you can't, but leave these poems and hopes of us and must believe. Now, Rona was talking about her party piece, her near-day party piece, or her Husband A party piece, and when I first met her, she said, "Oh, you're that Stuart Paterson?" Like there's loads of Stuart Patersons about it. Aye, and I said aye, and oh, the poet. I says, oh, and she told me about this and that she liked my poetry, and I was like, oh, that's great, that's really great. And so this poem basically, an old Scots word, an old English word, in fact, and you'll find it in The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien as well, when Bilbo and the dwarves are captured the giant spiders, is ettercap or uttercop. And an ettercap is an old word for a spider. You don't hear it very often, but I don't like spiders very much. I've got a wee bit better during lockdown because herself isn't always here to stick them at the door. And I've sort of gotten out of the habit of just picking up my baffy or my shoe or my boot and squelching it. So I'm getting a wee bit better. But this is a true story about what happened to me one night a few years ago. And I hope there's no too many heads nodding in the audience about this shit. And it's in Scots. It's called ettercap. Yin nicht as after sleep I dropped. I fancy that an ettercap was in a blow my braw warm sheet and skittering over my toasted feet. I woke up feared, but kinda glad that no such thing was in my bed. But as I shut my een, guess what? I felt a tickling on my foot. You've never seen a man alive could loups his skeich and duck and dive, and yin mean it in the next unit and screeching like a big galoot. I'm bringing into everything, the wa, the winter dikes, the bin, and try as madly as I micht, I can't fit in the bedroom licht. Ye ken, it's doonricht daft and wrang that something just 2 inches lang can make ye sweat and hold your breath and frighten ye near half to death. There's something though, it doesn't reckon, for he got a secret weapon. It's muckle, terrible, and affy, the ettercap destroying baffy. 10 minutes later, maybe more, I fin my baffy by the chair, switch on the licht, dicht down my brew, must pull mysel together noo. 10 minutes later, maybe more, my baffy poised, I'm nearly there above the bed and wit it hods and praying to baffy blessing gods. An hour later, maybe more, I'm ready now. I'm nearly there and whoosh, I birrel the bedclothes back and nearly here, heart attack, bang, bang and bang again, just yints. I'm pulverising it to mince and scalping, belting, hurl abuse. Until I see it's only oose. 2 hours on, all warm and hot, I laugh about the ettercap that wasn't in my bed at all, and dozing, birrel towards the wall. Oh, cosy, Locriff, snug and bean, I start to shut my tired een, but just afore I'm too far gone, what's yon that's tickling at my horn? Aye, and so it was back out the bed for Paterson. I hope you enjoyed that, and I hope you enjoyed it as well, Rona. The next poem is from my latest book, and it's there's a copy, A Squatter of Bairn Rhymes, published by Tippermuir Press. It's the first, we believe, well, it is the first substantial volume of poems that have been written in Scots for kids in quite a few years, decades probably. Original poems, not just translations. And it's illustrated, beautifully illustrated as well, and published, as I said, by Tippermuir Books up in Perth. And this is a poem for that called Shug. And by the way, when I say it's poems for wains, it's poems for wains of all ages. My pal Shug is awfy wee. He keeks on windies and bides in a tree. He howks for his dinner, richt in the grun, and swallies hail whatever he's fun. He wears nae claes, nae socks or boxers, loves a good book, or in his oxters. His hoose is made on nocht but wood. His singing's braw, but his fleeing's good. I'm sure ye's a' ken my pal Shug, a feathery heller, a tooty wee spug. And the next poem again is about another wee beastie, which I actually like, unlike your ettercat, your spider. I quite like these fellas. They've been around for a long, long time. And a lot of folk, do I know somebody in particular who is actually feared of them? They're that feared of them. Well, this story tells you about that. Slater. In case you don't know, a slater is a woodlouse. It's a trilobite. Millions of years old. Slater. On the flare of my cludgy, I fin a slater. It isn't there 10 minutes later. I'm feared of speeders and alligators, but more than them, I'm feared of slaters. I'll scalp and I'll leather and stamp, but nae matter, it seems that there's nae way to kill a slater. I'll whack and I'll whummel, I'll belt and I'll batter, I'll smear it in shampoo and fling it in water. And just when I'm sure that the slater is dead, it shiggles its legs and starts wiggling its head. It's made out of armour, it's old as the hills, it's ancient and scary and cannae be killed. I'm still looking for it a hale 2 hours later, and I'm no haeing my bath till I ken there's nae slater. So yeah, that's your slater for you. And this next poem was from a collection that came out about 4 years ago, called I. It's all poems in Scots. And I wrote this, it's called Father, Dad. And I wrote it for my dad, who sadly died 11 years ago when he was 81. And but I think it applies to a lot of people's dads. So it's called Father. Here's to the fathers we aye haud dear. The yin's long away, and the yin's still here. Though no to the yins that are out of sicht through their ain choice, they hae nae fatherly richts. Here's to the father that took your horn, as ye micht take his, now his mindin's gone. To the father ye dinna cry father at all, but buddy, the algin, neebs, or paw, that ye saw every day after lousing time, with the tea on the table, the clays and the bine. The yin who was out when ye left for the skill, the yin we kent nocht about shopping or bills. And here's to the fathers, no fathers by blood, whose stone whore 4 weir men yint stood. The fathers we looked to, the yins we were feared to say och to, but now wish we're listening and hear. Here's to the fathers, baith old and new, the yin that stares back out the mirror at you. And here's to my ain, and the things I'd say if he were around now and winnie the day. And now I've done a poem about dads, I think I'll read you a poem about my hero is my mum, Mima. She's 91 now, an amazing woman. She's on her own now since my dad died. But I always tell folk, she's not just got all her own marbles, she's got everybody else's marbles and all. I think she keeps them to herself. And she's an amazing woman. But I think this poem applies to all the great mothers and all the great women out there who are mothers. And this is called My Wee Mammy. My wee mammy is the bravest wee mammy. She doesn't greet her wheens when her leg gets gammy. She just gets to work with a duster or a chamois. My wee mammy is the bravest wee mammy. And my wee mother is the hardiest wee mother. And a stushy or a barney shall no stop her swither. She'll tell you what's what and she'll clap your heads together My wee mother is the hardiest wee mother. And my wee ma is the smartest wee ma. She kens just about all thing, but there's no way she's a blaw. Her head's in a book, and what she doesn't ken's hee-haw. My wee ma is the smartest wee ma. And my wee mammy is the smashingest wee mammy. I'm telling you, I'm lucky, pure fortuitous and jammy, that my ma, my mother, mammy, is the very cat's pyjamas. And if you say, oh, different, then we're going to hear a rammy. My wee mammy is the best wee mammy in the world. And so is yours. People are always asking me, you know, what do you do? If you say you're a poet, what do you do? Well, I write poetry, obviously. I do stuff like this, which is a great pleasure. And I work in a lot of schools as well. I used to work in care for years and years, and care and in with families and children in the communities. Now working with older folk as well as and kids in schools, and working on them with Scots and stories and poems is a great pleasure. And that is what I think I'm best at. And this poem, I think, is about all the things that maybe a lot of other guys do, but I'm not very good at. So this is called Building. And I suppose it's a sort of love poem. Building. He won't change a tyre or put up a shelf that won't fall off or fall in on itself. He won't know the difference between neutral and live, or decorate, plaster, wire circuits, or drive. He won't know roll plugs and screw heads and drills. He'll only respond to the red letter bills. And flat packs forever stay in the box while he cowers from imponderable levers and locks. Will he write you poems or occasional odes, or whisper you smiles of rhyme that he wrote while you slept? He won't be useful or good in the ways of house building or gathering food, but he'll build you a poem. He'll knock up a verse from the driftwood, the old wool, the leaves and the hearth. He'll build it himself, and he'll build it to last as long as a future, as short as a past. And I'll just finish up shortly with a poem which I think, pardon me, which is in Scots, but I think, you know, we're just past Burns Night, and I was really busy in Burns Night, Burns Day, Burns Morning, all the time. It was absolutely great. But a few years ago, I wrote a poem which has been turned into a wee book, actually, if you can see that, Burns Night Blessing. And I suppose it's not so much about Rabbie as in the spirit of Rabbie. And it's a message I like to put out there about how perhaps we can live our lives amongst each other. Burns Night Blessing. Fare thee weel and travel blithely. May your days be lang and lively. Dinna look ahin and greet, look for it to the years ahead. Mak sicker o' the ganging fit, mak sure ye get what goes with it. Haud for it like the newly born. Man isna always made to mourn. There's them that's aye worse off than you, and them that's better off. It's true, but pay nae heed to them whae girn and pook and whinge at every turn. Nae pinting round yoursel and fash, or gieing your best days hour to snash, and them de lichten and stramash, whae live for stooshy, fecht and clash. Best tell to them and other like, get on ahin, you wandering tyke. The time you're here should no be ta'en, wi' growing twisted on your ain. Tell them that's close you love them, then, just 'cause you can, tell them again. Which round the corners never kent, to wains or women, beasts or men. Fare thee weel and travel blithely, may your days be lang and lively, and may the road ken fine to lead ye on to where your friends will meet you. And I'd like to thank again everybody for tuning in, for listening and for watching. And I will finish up with a very, very short poem. I think, again, one that is a symbol of hope we had recently last year, which was a light in the window. And I think, especially now in the dark days of winter, a light in the window is very much a symbol and something, a metaphor that we should hold on to and hope for the times ahead. So this is called Licht or Light. A licht in the windy, for dawn we hold dear. The yins who are wi' us, and dawn no see near. We'll keep the licht blazing and windy and hairt, for when we're together and no for apart. Thank you very much. That'll do me, and I'll hand you back, I think, to Rona. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Stuart. Do indeed, Stuart. So before we get to the questions, I just wanted to read you some of the reactions that were scrolling up as you were speaking. So first of all, thank you from California, apparently, but there you are.
California, that's where that wee book was actually made. And that wee book, which is another one called Nae Fond Kiss, about rabid in the time of COVID.
Brilliant.
San Diego.
Some of the language that we were seeing, lots of positive comments about Luminate. People think that it was sounding like a wonderful thing. People are laughing, giggling, loving it, greeting. It's beautiful, it's fantastic, rich language, you made them laugh, they're sniffing. So everything that I think your poetry does, Stuart, was done tonight. So thank you, but I still think I'm better at AterCap than you. Anyway, I'm going to come to Leslie Paterson, who has a question for you. So can we unmute Leslie, please?
No relation, by the way, she's not a plant.
You got me there? Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Leslie. Yeah.
Thank you, Stuart. That was just amazing. And I smiled from start to finish. Thank you. That was lovely. What I want to ask you, Stuart, is what inspires you when you write poetry? What sort of really, what's your passion? What drives you to do it?
Oh God, that's the question that I think maybe a lot of artists get asked, and I really don't know is the answer. Whatever, and this is going to sound trite and blithe and sort of but I don't mean it to. But it's whatever pops into my head, and whatever I'm thinking about or seeing or responding to. I get a lot of commissions to write poems. So I've just done a big commission for Scottish Water. If you go to my page, my Facebook or Twitter page or whatever, or onto the Scottish Water page, you'll see that. I did one for Lidl over the Christmas period. Again, was a great pleasure to write in Scots. And yeah, but then in terms of me, I don't know is the answer. And I don't know, I see somebody's written in there about how do you know if you're going to write in something in Scots or English? Well, I grew up speaking Scots, and I think in Scots, and obviously English as well. Again, I don't have an answer. It depends very much on how it comes out, what goes in and how it comes out. So it could be anything. I don't have any favourite subject, but I do like writing poems for my partner, actually. It's a nice thing to do, I think, and also for my mum as well. So yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Leslie. And we'll go now to the inimitable Jess Davidson. Jess, are you there?
Oh, inimitable, eh?
Inimitable. Mm-hmm.
I see Leslie spells her name the right way as well. 1 T in Paterson.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, Jess.
Hello, Stuart. Thank you so much for. Oh my goodness, it was a real ride through the language, but all these sentiments. I'm with Rona. I was a bit cryy there, but generally speaking, pretty happy. My question is that I was hoping not to actually speak this out loud, but I am first generation born in England from an Irish family. And so I was saying, don't judge me for my Surrey accent. But I've been living in Scotland for a long time. Anyway, that's not really the point. My grandmother, Aileen from Wexford, used to call people who I guess she thought they were fools, a spla-footed glunter. Is there an equivalent in Scots?
A glunter, did you say?
A what?
What was that again?
A spla-footed glunter, Or in Surrey, a splar-footed glunter.
It was splar-footed glunter. If you'd said that initially, I would have completely understood you.
Yes, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
Well, I mean, splar-footed obviously means, I would think, splay-footed. Glunter, I have heard before. I think it's, I do a lot of work over in Ulster in Northern Ireland, and I have been doing a lot lately.
Oh,
and of course, Scots, of course, went over there about 400 years ago when, you know, Scots going over to Ireland wasn't necessarily a good thing, but we took our language with us. So Ulster Scots has developed quite a lot over the past 400 years in various glens and bits here and there. And glunter is a word I have heard. Is there a Scots equivalent? Well, I mean, glunter is Scots. It's Ulster Scots. So I guess up here we'd just say something like somebody's a numpty or a nyaff or a rocket if you're from Glasgow.
I like that. Well, my grandfather Theo was from Ulster, and
Right.
so then that's maybe where it came from.
Well, there's another word that you hear a lot up in Derry, which is gulping. Hey, you get it there, you wee gulping. That's again, it means more or less the same thing. So Gulpin. So I'm doing a lot of work with people over there in Derry and the Glens and the Ulster Scots agency and the community network, language network, and it's absolutely brilliant to come across words probably like that which were used here a long time ago, but folk took them with them. They've evolved over there, and you know, like any language, because Scots is a language, it evolves and moves away and takes things away with it, or just outgrows things or loses words. So it's great to hear something like that. Splar-footed glunter. I think I'll use that. Thank you.
Gulpin. Thank you very much.
Gulpin. You're no gulpin to me.
Stuart, I wonder if I could have a prerogative here and ask a question. So lots of, if there's any Scots in the audience, maybe 40s, 50s and older, they will no doubt have been told to speak properly when they were growing up, and that an awful lot of the words that we would use were considered slang. And there's a lot of people still who consider the Scots language slang and not a proper language. And you must have been asked this 100 times. So how do you respond to that?
Well, I've never heard any slang or dialect having a written tradition going back 800 years, which used to be the official language of the royal court and the legal system in Scotland. Then the Union of Crowns came along and the Union of Parliaments, and everybody and their wife wanted to send their wains down to the public schools in England to speak properly, because it was seen as the language, as Tom Leonard said, it was seen as the language of the gutter. Nowadays, I mean, I do some work as well for the SQA, the Scottish Qualifications Authority, as an external verifier, and they deliver a Scots Language Award in schools now. Now, it's not full up to full qualification level like an O level, but it's getting there, and it counts to what. And when I go into schools and see wains expressing themselves in the language that they speak in the playground or at home or amongst their pals and family, it's amazing to see, and the SQA have actually released figures showing that attainment levels, as confidence rises in using their own language, and it'll be the same with Gaelic, goes absolutely way up. So there's, you know, of course it's a language, and it's related to English, but it's also got a lot of words in it for French, for Gaelic, Norwegian, Danish, you know, like any language. It's made up of different sources and different things, but it is a language, definitely.
Well, I mean, would it be accurate to say, Stuart, that Scots and English are two subdivisions of a common root? Is that a reasonable thing?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, if you read a lot of, I mean, when I went to university 6 million years ago, I remember having to read the Canterbury Tales by Chaucer. And when they asked me to go out and buy the books for a set list for the first year, for the reading list, I went and got the Penguin edition in modern English, and everybody else has started reading it out, and I'm like, what is that? And I said to my tutor, and he went, oh yes, you're supposed to get the version in the original Old Middle English. And I started reading that, and I was like, but when you hear it spoken, actually, you can tell that they're very much related. So the sounds, the gutturals and fricatives, all that kind of thing. And there's a lot of Scots comes from Old and Middle English. So they're cousins, very much.
Do we have any other questions? Would anyone like to chip in? We're getting to...
we've got a couple of questions in the answered section that I think people were going to say live. Shall I just invite some people to speak?
Please do, Tasha, because I can't see them at the moment, so please do.
Come into the body of the kirk.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've got Lara Pentangle. Lara, do you want to unmute and ask Stuart your question?
Hello, we've got the whole family here listening. So, thank you so much for today. It's been great. Really something nice, something different. We've even got our wee one here. He's only 3 years old and he enjoyed it too.
Oh, well, I think that Wayne needs a copy of Squatter of Bairn Rhymes.
Okay, so my question was probably on, the whole COVID thing. How has it affected your inspiration? Because I know for a lot of people it is, with the new ways of working that we've got and the limitations we have, how has that been affecting kind of your inspiration and also your motivation to write, stuff like that?
That's an excellent question. I mean, they all are, but that particularly, you're absolutely right. I live in Galloway. I'm very, very lucky. Me and my partner Joan live in Galloway, and not just, we're in a wee village, but we're not far from the coast. We've got a glen up the back, the biggest hill in East Galloway up the back at 2,000 feet. We're so lucky to have such beautiful countryside around us, Lara. So I really appreciate that, and I've been out walking a lot, and during this time, I have been writing, especially at the start, writing an awful lot about, what's happening. In fact, I brought out a book myself. Me and an artist that I know in Derbyshire, Adrian Lambert, produced a book last June or July, and it's called Together, and it's about 50 pages, and it includes monographs, Adrian's photographs. And there's also a poem in it about other stuff that's been happening. One of the big things that's been happening during lockdown, of course, has been Black Lives Matter and the murder of George Floyd. So there's a poem in there about George Floyd as well, in Scots, because I think it's interesting what Rona was saying about Scots shouldn't just be a language that's slang or dialect or back in the Middle Ages. Scots should be a language that we're using now to describe the modern world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I've been inspired to write a lot during lockdown, not just about lockdown itself, but about lockdown, but also about things like George Floyd's murder. And it's been a strange time, and it's been really restrictive in terms of movement and being with people and being in places. But I'm not going to complain, because I have written quite a lot. I've been asked to do a lot of jobs, a lot of work. I've been asked to do this tonight, which is amazing. And I think you've just, like any situation, maybe I'm just an eternal optimist. I didn't used to think I was, but I think you've got to draw the positives out of things, Lara.
Yeah,
and you have to think of the Waynes as well, because the Waynes don't want a bunch of sumption about them giving and greeting and no, it's terrible. And the Waynes are going to, we're the ones they look up to. And for a lot of young people just now, especially young people, teenagers and younger adults, it's really, really difficult just now for them. So I think we've just got to try and be positive. No, not to be a role model, but to be creatively positive as well. And I've applied for a few grants and bursaries alongside commissions, so that's kept me going and paying the bills and stuff like that. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Lara. I'm going to go on to the next one because the questions are piling up here, if that's okay. Mandy, do you want to ask your question?
Yep, just a quick one. Stuart, thank you so much. Fantastic evening, guys. Oh. Stuart, what's your favourite Scots word and why? And what's your least favourite word?
I saw that up in the chat box. Well, I think my favourite, I am not going to be Robert Burns and say Hoch Magandhi, but because these Ayrshire poets got away with everything. But I think probably my favourite word in Scots is winter dykes. It's just such a descriptive word. A clothes horse, a maiden, as they call it in England. A winter dyke, a fence that you bring inside in the winter to dry your clothes on, I love winter dykes. And it's something we've always used. And I've not, when I went to live in England for Manchester for 15 years back in the end of the 90s, And I just could not get away for some Scots words. And people would just look at me like I was glaikit. What? Winter Dykes, what's that? Probably my least favourite Scots word. I don't know if I've got one. That's an interesting. Nobody's ever asked me that before. Yeah, they're all great. Do you have a least favourite Scots word, Mandy?
No, I don't actually. And I think probably it was the point when you were saying about words describing modern world and being creatively positive, and that idea. And so I'm very optimistic, glass full to overflowing. So no, I don't have a worst one, but sometimes I just wondered, in your creative streaks, was there one that jarred with you the least?
No.
Maybe not the least favourite.
It's not really. I mean, it's a language I grew up speaking and then later on writing. So to me, it's just like, I don't have, no. I mean, I see somebody's written in the thing here in the chat box that Stramash is my favourite. And whirly, whirly gig's a great word, you know, but you hang your clothes on outside to dry. And dreich is the one I use most. And this is something that me and a lot of people over in Ulster that I've been working with, is what we call the Irish Sea, the shach, and they call the shach. And a lot of folk over there, you know, over the shach, use the word dreich. But a lot of the words that we use, because it's Scots, is about weather and the outdoors. And that's because when Scots was, if you like, evolving, almost everybody lived and worked outdoors. And so it's very much the language of nature and the open world and stuff like that. But it's evolving again. So I don't think you'd find somebody in 19th century Ayrshire talking about a rocket, saying bolt your rocket, things like that, you know. So, yeah.
Thank you very much. Another great question. And can we come to Kathleen Robertson? Kathleen, if you get your question.
Yes, hi, good evening, everyone. Thank you, Stuart, for such a wonderful evening. What I would sort of like to ask is, how long does it take you to think of the words, what you want to use, and put them all together to make such great poems?
Right, your check's in the post, Kathleen. I mean, because Scots is a lot, if I write in Scots, I don't have to think about it. It just kind of comes to me. And I know people, some writers take forever to write a poem or a story or something. The great poet Norman MacCaig, whom I was lucky enough to know towards the end of his life, Norman MacCaig was asked, how long does it take you to write a poem, Norman? And he'd say, well, usually a silk cut. But if it's a particularly long poem, maybe 2 silk cuts, because he was a relentless smoker. So I'm quite quick, I think. I like to get it done and dusted and out the way. And time, I suppose like a lot of artists would say this, time just kind of has no meaning. You're kind of lost in what you're doing. So, I mean, I could be writing something and look up at the clock and expect it to maybe be an hour later and it's only 10 minutes later, or expect it to be 10 minutes later and it's an hour later, you know. So it's a funny one. But it just kind of, it's hard to explain any creative process, I think. It just kind of comes and you do it. And then if folk like it, great, you know.
Brilliant. Okay, so I think we'll come next to William McMillan, then Linda Semple, then Shirley Wishart, and then we'll have to wrap it up. So, William, do you want to ask your question?
Hello, Stuart. Like many people in Scotland, I'm hoping fervently for an independent nation in my lifetime. How do you see Scots poetry fitting in with this, driving the nation forward?
Well, a wee clue to that, I suppose, was in the title of that book, which was written around about the time of the referendum. Now, I have been political in my poetry, and I do believe, you know, this is a personal thing. Some people will not prefer independence. A lot of people will. I've been in the part of the SNP for 32 years. So I believe in independence, and I believe it's not just partisan. And I think it will come very soon. But poetry and culture have been a great driving force for awareness and making people aware of perhaps how best we can operate. And also the benefits of being, you know, an independent nation. So again, the arts have always been a strong driver of self-determination throughout history, and I don't see it being any different up here, William.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And if we come to Linda and then Shirley. Linda, are you there? You gone?
Go on, Linda.
I know she's sitting down the stairs. I don't know where the hell she's going. She better be making me a cup of tea. Oh, there she's back. Linda.
Oh, that Linda, I might have known. Bottom-locks.
Yes, so I was going to ask you a very boring question, and I'm going to change the question because what you were just saying there about culture, I think is fascinating. I very much feel as an outsider, and a bit like Jess, I've got the English accent. As an outsider who's come to love the Scots language, I think it has a direct reflection of the Scots character. And I wonder if you can say something about the way the Scots language develops and the way the Scots character shines through it.
I think it's difficult to define, or you can almost get to the point of cliche or stereotype when it comes to defining any nationality. We're not any different to our brothers and sisters than in England. We're really not, I don't think, a lot of them. And I think, though, we are shaped very much by social circumstance and social awareness and social upbringing. And I think we're also, I mean, I've been told this a lot in the past, especially when I lived and worked in England, that, you're awfully direct, you speak your mind, in other words. And I was also accused of being aggressive for that very reason. And I wasn't being aggressive. It maybe came over as being aggressive, but I was just trying to be blunt, to be direct, and to get to the nub of something. And when you work in social care and work with kids, that's sometimes a good trait to have, especially when you're talking to parents that should maybe be doing a better job looking after their kids. So I think I got listened to quite a lot by a lot of families. But you Scots guys, you Scots folk, I ken what you're talking about. But you know what I mean? And there's all these kind of things come out as well. Like recently, there was a poll, was it last year or the year before, saying that if you phone a call centre or a call line, the most trusted accent is a Scots accent. So although that can become a bit of a stereotype and a bit of a cliche, a bit like the Hossy you Jimmy kind of Glaswegian stereotypes, is havers, well, nonsense, havers. I think there is something about it, and I think we've got a very strong sense of self-identity as Scots, which comes through in the language, be it Scots or Gaelic, very much so, yeah. So it's a really interesting viewpoint, Linda. Thanks for asking it.
Very much. And last question of the night goes to Shirley Wishart. Come in, Shirley.
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, it's not that Shirley Wishart, is it? Oh.
It's that queen who lives in Dundee. Stuart, it wasn't specifically about your poetry tonight. Sorry, I was a wee bit late getting into the session, but thanks very much. I was just wanting to ask you, I love poetry and I've kind of dabbled with it over the years. And I was just wondering, would you be running any poetry workshops in the near future, either online or, well, poetry writing workshops even, or in the future?
Aye, that's interesting you mentioned that, Shirley. I was just talking to somebody about this the other day, and they were telling me about just how many online writing workshops have sprung up, especially during lockdown. And I've also been hearing that some of them are total keech, I have to say. And I've also heard that some of them are brilliant. It's just like anything else, isn't it? So I'm going to think about that, actually. I am going to think about it. Now that I know how to operate Zoom and Messenger, what's it called, Teams, and we've got an unlimited premium Zoom, hurrah!
Great.
You don't have to shut up at 40 minutes. So I mean, I'd love to do it, actually, because I do miss, the one thing I miss during this whole time is working with folk. There's no substitute. And I miss working with Waynes, with young folk, and with the older folk in the care homes as well. I really, really miss that. And I know for a fact that one or two of them will know they're away during this time. So, but getting online and doing something like that, I've just been a bit too busy in the past few months to have, but then, pardon me, to have thought about it. But then I got asked, as I said the other day, somebody was telling me about these, and some people are charging a fortune, to run them, or for people to attend them. That's not something that I do. I have for the past, up until the start of lockdown, I ran a writers group in Dumfries called High Street Writers. And we used to get about 20 odd people coming along every couple of weeks. And then I did a few online sessions with them, and there was, again, about 14, 15 people, especially for people that were vulnerable or isolated, and they wanted still to be part of that writing community and also to be prompted creatively. So I have done a bit of it, but that was based on, a previous group. But I think it's something that I'll be looking at pretty soon, Shirley, so I'll keep you in mind.
Oh, good, and I would certainly pay for it. I think people should be paid for the things that they do. Shouldn't.
Well, I'll be charging you double in that case. Then.
Well, but I think what I mean is if you want to do something for nothing, that's fine. But as a musician, you'll know that I know that sometimes people always expect you to do something for nothing, and that's also not right. You know.
No, I'll keep you in mind. Definitely, Shirley.
Okay, thank you.
I'm going to draw the evening to a close, and there's 3 things I just want to say very quickly. If this is the first time you have met the Queen's Nursing Institute Scotland, we are a charity and we depend on grants and donations and bequests and so on. So if you feel that slinging is a wee cheeky tenner, please go onto the website, QNIS, and there's a wee donate button there. We'd be terribly grateful. And what we do, as Claire said at the beginning, was we support community nurses, and that's anyone working anywhere in the community, to make things better for the people they work with. Strong sense of social justice and sustainability runs through everything we do. So we'd be very, very grateful for any help you can give us. Secondly, thank you to everybody that's come along tonight and made it a tremendous session. And maybe we'll do this again as soon as we're out of lockdown and we can all do it face to face. That would be great fun. And lastly, a big thank you to the double bra Stuart Paterson, who has been fantastic. I love Stuart's poetry, and if you would like to buy any of his books, go onto his website and please find out how.
I don't actually have a website.
Oh, for God's sake!
I know. I'm just in the process of building one, actually.
Where can people get your books, Stuart?
Well, if you look at the Scottish Poetry, just Google me. But that one, the new one, A Squatter, A Bairn Rhymes, is for Tippermuir Books. So you can buy it direct for Tippermuir, TIPPERMUIR, or you can go onto Amazon, I suppose, and get it. And and this one, the one that I produced during lockdown, together, we only did 200. It was a limited run because, and we didn't do it for the money. We did it for the love of it. But I've still got a few copies left. So if anybody wants, to buy a count, we're selling for about £12 and a couple of pound postage. So if anybody's want to get in touch with me, then I've still got a few copies of that if they want them. We're really proud of it.
Thank you very much. So thank you all. I don't need to say safe home because you are all home. That's nice. I hope you'll join us again on the 10th of February when it will be the author Victoria Whitworth speaking to us. Thank you all very much and good night.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
And drum at your ears.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers, everybody. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Thank you, Rhoda.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.